we have to do exercise 2. So there's the first one. Just have a look at 1.2. That was just the log 1000 is equal to 3. So daar was nie 'n getalletjie daaronder nie. En ons het gesê if there's nothing, it must actually be a 10. Nee, it's like when we have a square root. They don't write the 2, but there is actually a 2. Nee? Okay. Quickly mark these and dan kan julle sê waar julle gesukkel het, but I'm getting the sense that everyone was fairly okay with these, nee? Wil jy nie vorentoe sit nie? Julle is lief vir mekaar? Wat nou? Hallo, waar was jy?
Kom eens sê daar.
Hallo, sy praat met my.
Yes.
Ja?
Yes, I am a teacher. You talking back?
Now, at 1.1, they just said write it in exponential form. So you didn't have to solve x. Okay? Going the extra mile. I like it. Okay. My sokkie pla my nou. Hy's nou hier.
Chelsea goes the extra mile and say that doesn't matter.
Kan ek maar skip? Okay. There we go. 2.6. Now, at number 3, we had to go and solve x, but it was sonder 'n sakrekenaar, né? Now, x squared is equal to 25. Usually, you would say that x will be plus or minus 5, né? Maar, ons het mos gesê, that value at the bottom must be greater than 0. So that's why I only say x is 5. Okay. Dan by 3.2, weer eens, they left out that little number there, so we assume it's a 10. So then 10 to the power of minus 2 is equal to x, en dit geef my 1 op 100. Okay. Right, any questions here? Kan ek maar skip? Hands up, who's still copying? Good. Okay, there is 4.1. Nou by nummer 4 het hulle vir my gesê, we've got to write that in log form and then solve x. So gaan skryf hom eers van eksponensieel af na log toe en dan sit jy dit net so in jou sakrekenaar and we said we rounded off to 2 decimal places, né? Just be wary or have a look at number 4.3 when we get something like that. Please do not, and we did talk about it yesterday, do not multiply in this 3. Why not? Because of that exponent. No. So I first had to get rid of that 3 by taking it over. So 15 divided by that 3 gave me the 5. No. So oppas vir daai. And then the rest was straightforward. Now, listen, this bracket, I had 1 plus 0,2. Jy mag dit gaan by mekaar tel. You will see here at the bottom, I use 1,2. No, I could go and add because everything in that bracket will be to the power of x. Is julle reg? Okay, kan ek skip? Okay, 4.5, same thing. Ek moes eers gou gaan ontslaa raak van daai 14. So as ek hom oorvat, is dit mos 50 gedeel deur 14. And that could just simplify to 25 over 7. Okay. En dan van daar af gaan skryf ek dit in log vorm. Now I first get the answer for that log. En dit was 1,84 en nou gaan ek daai minus 2 oorvat. So it becomes plus 2, so therefore my answer is 3,84. Enige vrae? Goed, 4.6 dink ek was redelik straightforward, en 4.8 ook. The only thing we did here is I had to get rid of that 2. So when I take it over, it becomes divided by 2, en 4 gedeeld deur 2 geef my daai 2. And then from there, we write it in exponential form. Nee. Okay, kan ek skip? Sjoep, gaan lekker vinnig. Okay, laaste enetjie. Onthou, omdat hulle vir my hakkies omsit, om daai x kwadraat minus x, dan is hy mos een ding, nee? So ek gaan skryf hom van hier af in eksponensiële vorm. So 2 to the power of 1 is equal to x squared minus x. En dan gaan jy sien hy begin 'n 3-term vorm, né? So I take everything to the left and make it equal to 0. So then I factorize that trinomial, and that means that x will be 2 or minus 1. Nou hier gaan jy sien dat ek trek nie daai minus 1 dood nie. Nee, wat wil ons net hê met minus 1 wees nie? Daai getalletjie daaronder. Onthou julle? Nee. En as jy nou ook so daarna gaan kyk, if I were to substitute in this minus 1, minus 1 squared would give me a positive 1. En dan minus 1, dan geef my 0. Okay. Ja. Any questions? Goed, kan ek maar skip? Right. Now, the exponential graph, we said inverse of that will be my log graph. Nee. Okay, so kom ons gaan kyk net gou na 'n voorbeeld. Ek gee vir jou y is gelyk aan 2 tot die mag x, and that's an exponential graph. Nee. So let's go get the inverse. Nou, daar's 'n paar verskillende maniere hoe hulle vir jou kan vra. They can either ask you to get, if that was fx, they ask you to get f to the power of minus 1, meaning inverse. Nee, so kom ons skryf dit miskien sommer gou hier by inverse. Or they can ask you, reflect this graph in the line y is equal to x. Dis was ook inverse. Nee. Okay, so let's go do that. Wat gaan dit wees as ek hom gaan reflekteer? What happens when we do inverse? The x and the y values switch around. So dan gaan ek eintlik hê x is gelyk aan 2 tot die mag y. Nee. You guys good? But we want it in the form of y is equal to something. So dan gaan ek hom gou moet terugskryf na log toe. Wat gaan hy dan wees? Die enetjie wat alleen staan, that one is always with log. Nee. So it would be log x, that 2 goes down, so it's over here, and then equal to y. Ek gaan net vooraan skryf. Y is gelyk aan log 2x. Is julle reg daar? Any questions? Okay. So julle het dit genoeg geoefen, nee? So you would be able to easily switch around between the two. Kan ek maar gou skip? Okay, skryf eers klaar. Terwyl julle skryf, gaan ek gou praat. They could also, they would ask you which one of these, or they give you a graph and then ask you, is it a decreasing function or an increasing function? Wie kan vir my sê wat is 'n increasing function? Sê weer? Ja, maar met ander woorde, soos wat x meer raak y meer. Nee, okay. That's an increasing function. That's on the next slide. So you write that down as soon as everyone's finished here. Then a decreasing function, nee? What would that then be? As the x increase, the y's decrease. Okay. Gaan nou vir julle wys die verskil tussen die goedjies. Okay, hands up, we're still copying here. Goed, ekskuus, ek het vergeet van nie. So doen jy gou dan vir my, get the inverse of f at each one of these two. Ja, is vinnig, toetiks. Ja. Maar in die vorm y is gelyk aan iets, né? Onthou, jy kan een van twee goed doen, né? Hierin, jy kan of eers 'n eksponensieel gaan skryf en dan jou x en y omruil, of ruil aan die begin jou x en y om en dan skryf 'n eksponensieel. Jy kan maar net dit. Hierdie is goed wat hulle eintlik dit moet 12. Miskien 1 punt. Okay, kan ek maar doen? Okay. As I said just now, you have one of two options. Option 1 is first write it from log to exponential and then switch your x and y. Of option 2, first switch your x and y and then skryf jy hom na exponentieel. So I'm going to do it different at each one of these. Okay, so at the purple one, let's first write it in exponential form. Nee? So dan gaan ek hê, die x bly mos alleen, die 3 skuif op en daai y also moves up so it becomes to the power of y. Okay, but now because so I just wrote it from log to exponential. Now, wil ek die x en die y gaan omruil because it's inverse, so it means it would be y is equal to 3 to the power of x. So eintlik ek wil net gou daai f hierso skryf. Das. Okay. Wat is dit wat jou confuse? Omdat jy dink as ek dit skryf van log na exponentieel, dan is hy klaar inwerking. Nee, maar onthou die prentjies. Ja. Nee, maar onthou wat ons gaan nou met 'n prentjie ook doen. Maar wat jy by die prentjie gaan doen is as jy eksponensiële grafiek het, dan vat ons sy koördinate en ons switch hulle. So jy gooi nog steeds die x en die y om en dit is hoekom ek 'n log grafiek dan nou kry. Okay. So jy moet hom nog steeds die oomblik as hulle sê inverse, dan weet jy x en y switch. Okay. Goed, kom ons kyk gou na die rooie, né? The red one, let's now this time first switch our x and y values, meaning it will become x is equal to log 1/4 y. En nou gaan skryf ek daai gou in eksponensiële vorm, want hulle wil hom hê y is gelyk aan iets. So then the one in front of the log will be alone, so y is equal to 1/4 to the power of x. Okay, ja.
Mag ons daai kwart omskryf na 0,25?
Jy kan, ja. Okay, any questions? Goed, so hierdie is amper sê ek op papier, so kom ons kyk gou na die prentjie, né? Can I skip? Is anyone still copying, ja? Jy skryf nog, né? Jy klaar? Okay, right. So, we talked about an increasing function, stygende funksie. Ons het gesê as x styg, jy kan nie dit nou daar agter sien nie, dan styg y, né? So as x increases, the y also increases. When it's a decreasing function, as dit 'n dalende funksie is, dan soos wat my x meer raak, as x increases, the y will decrease. Okay, so dis net daai, want jy gaan ergens along the line, you are going to get a question about that, and we'll talk about it just now. Okay, now, given fx is equal to 3 to the power of x. Kom ons gaan teken gou daai grafiek. Wil julle dit self probeer? Of moet ek saam doen? Julle kan self, nee? Okay. So on a sketch, go draw fx. Hoe maak ons nou weer vir die van julle wat so bietjie twyfel? Okay, maar ons gaan stel in waardes, nê? Nee. Wat as x 1 is? As x 0 is? X is 2, x is 3. Go plot your points and then you'll see you can draw your graph, nê? Nee? Yeah. Oh, you're going to convert to English. So it was an increasing function, no? The purple. And then it says, as x increases, y also increases. Kyk nou vir die slim man, né? Hulle moet begin lief raak vir mekaar. Hoor die ouens, en as hulle vir jou vra om 'n skets te teken, hè, whenever there's intercepts, definitief moet jy dit vir my wys, né? If there's x and y intercepts, in this case there won't be x intercepts, né? Want my x-as is mos my asymptoot, né? So show me your y-intercept, and then show me at least one, maybe two more coordinates on that graph. Okay, is almal klaar met fx? Okay, I'll delete it just now, but what I did is fx is actually y is equal to 3 to the power of x. Nee. Okay, so what I did is instead of x, I'm going to say, what if x is 0? Dan kry jy mos, y is gelyk aan 3. Nee. Okay, so definitely, ek gaan nou net gou eers teken. Nee, excuse. Sorry. Oh, lolo. Kyk gou hier, ek wil nou gou eers teken want julle weet as ek kom teken. Okay, so over here, as x 0 is y. Is y, ja. Nee, daar is mos maar altyd by exponentieel 'n koördinaat unless there's another asymptote, right? Okay, right. Then we substitute in instead of x, I use x is 1, dan say 3. Nee? So you would then have x is 1, y is 3. That would be your coordinate. Nee? Goed, so kom ons maak hom miskien maar gou. Good. Now I say, what if x is 2? Dan gaan ek hê X is 2, then y will be 9. So sit ek hom gou daar op. X is 2, y will be 9. So this is fx. Good. Now, any questions about that exponential graph? Please make sure this is going to go closer and closer and closer towards that x-axis, but it's never going to touch, nee? Want my x-as is my asymptoot. Ja. Ja. So hy sal 10 en 3 punte wees, nee? Hulle gaan vir jou gee vir die x afsnit, nee? En dan gee vir nog 'n koördinaat en dan gee hulle vir die dis als die vorm / rigting. Okay. Good. Now, listen. Next up, I want you to get the inverse of fx. Nou onthou, sonder om enige berekeninge te gaan doen. Nee. We can go from that fx graph. And all we do is switch the two around. Want dis inverse. Nee? Okay, so go draw inverse of fx, please. Gaan teken vir my die inverse. Jy is nie by nie, hoekom lyk jy so? Wat's fout? Sarah? Huh? Okay, jy moet gou vir my die inverse gaan teken. So kyk gou hier. Daar was my waarde gewees 0 en 1. Ek wil hom liewer hier skryf. 0 en 1. Jy gaan hom nou maak 1 en 0. Dan gaan plot jy jou punt. Nee. So take the 3 coordinates that we've got, switch the x and y, plot them, en dan gaan jy sien hoe jou prentjie lyk. And always keep in mind that, en dis hoekom ek daai lyn vir jou geteken het van y is gelyk aan x. It's like taking my page and folding it on that line. En dan behoort die twee grafiekies mooi op mekaar te lê. Yes. Wat is fout, Nicole? Teken gou. Goed, kyk, ek dink ek nog, ja. Nee, toe. Nee, man. Julle gaan nou werk. Okay, is almal klaar met die inverse? Right, so that graph should look like this. Hy's nou nie so mooi perfek nie. Kyk gou. This coordinate where x is 0 and y is 1 gaan wees x is 1 en y is 0. That coordinate where x is 1 and y is 3 will be x is 3 and y is 1. Nee, maar onthou jy hoef net enetjie vir my data gegee. X is 2, y is 9, so hy gaan nou hier raak. X is 9 en y is 2. Oh, dit lyk glad hier toe. You guys good? En mine is nie perfect nie, but can you see how it flips around that line of y is equal to x? Okay, now, ek wil gou praat oor hierdie groen stukkie. Because I know you guys don't usually like that, but if you understand that it's actually so easy, right? They're asking for which values of x is fx times, van ons 'n punt, inverse, Nicole, hierso op die bord. Hierso. fx maal sy inverse must be less than 0. Nou, as iets, ja, if that is less than 0, dan beteken dit is negatief. Nee, okay, so, how do I get a negative? If I've got to multiply two things, because I've got to take fx and multiply it with the inverse. As ek twee goed met mekaar maal, en hulle moet vir my negatiewe antwoord gee. It means the one must be positive and the other one must be negative. Nee, that's the only way I can get a negative answer. Want as albei positief is, dan gaan my antwoord wees positief. Or if both are negative, then my answer will be negative. Nee. So actually what they're asking is where's the one graph positive and the other graph negative. Verstaan julle? Jy moet hom net so mooi gaan uitredeneer. Okay, so, hoe gaan ek nou om vir jou, so dit, waar is where is one graph, een grafiek positief, en ander grafiek negatief. Just write it out there for you so you can understand. Where's the one positive and the other one negative? So I'm not saying F must be positive and the inverse must be negative, because it could also be switched around. Nee. Okay. Nou kom ons gaan kyk gou-gou, nee? Nou, as ek praat van positief en negatief, am I talking about X values or Y values? What is Fx? The Y value. So I'm using the Y values of Fx and the Y values of that inverse graph. Is julle by? Okay, nou kyk gou-gou hier. Everywhere on this graph, my Y values are positive, nee? Okay? En hier is alles ook positief. Nee, so ek soek eintlik, I only want the part where this is negative and that is positive. Nee, maar nou tel hierdie gedeelte hier. No, because there's no graph there. Nee. Okay, so basically, laat ek net gou-gou, I know I'm going to use that. Nee? En dan hierdie gaan ons nou wees van daar af tot en met waar X ook 1 is. Sien julle dit? Does that make sense to you guys? Not. Okay. Okay, this top graph, the blue one, was positive everywhere because it's at the top of my axis. Nee? Okay, so daai hele ding is positief. So the deal breaker here was the inverse graph. Now I need the inverse graph to be negative because positive times negative will give me this negative. Nee. Okay, now this whole arm here is negative up until that point where X is 1. So nou gaan kyk ek gou na die grafiek, the blue one. I want it also to be from 0 up until where X is 1. Hoekom nie van daar af aan nie? Because now it's positive and this one is positive. So it doesn't make sense. Nee. So meaning, what would the values of X be? X must be between 0 and 1. Nee. Okay. Good. So let's say, therefore, X must be less than 1, but greater than 0. En nou wil ek gou geweet, the equal signs. Nee? Kan ek sê dit, gelyk aan 0? No, because if X is 0, what is it? Positive or negative? Nothing, nee? So it must be, X must be greater than 0. Okay, mag ek sê gelyk aan 1? Ja, nee? Want daar soos hy niks. It can be equal to 1, nee? Ja, hulle sê niks anders extra daarso. Alright, so just watch out for the signs as well. Go double check that on your graph. Goed, enige vrae, any questions? Right, so you guys just draw your first log graph, nee? En sien julle dis niks, is glad nie so erg nie, nee? Okay, so homework is exercise 3, daar doen jy net vir my 1.1, 1.4 en 2.1. So those 3.
Which one?
Then at exercise 5, the English people especially, just take out your books. I want you to double check because the numbering is different in the English book. Dis 6 sommetjies mense, dis nie so erg nie. Dit lyk erg want ek het dit langs mekaar alles geskryf. At exercise 5, that's on page 56. English people. 1.1, I mean 1.3, the one that you're going to do. Kyk gou daar. Is hy fx is gelyk aan log 3 en dan x? Is julle reg uit 1.3? Okay, then 1.4, fx is equal to log 2/3 x. Okay, dan 2.1. Does it say the coordinates is 9 and minus 2? Okay, nou dan weet ek. O, dit gaan dalk oor die A, B, C en D. Sorry. A. Ja, kyk gou graag. Skryf die vergelyking van die inverse. So that must be A. What does your A say? Find the value. Lees gou die volle ding. Nee, bring vir my, want ek wil daar 'n bietjie verander.